All right, hey everybody, RV Enthusiast here. Nice seeing you again. Today's Maintenance Monday. It's a new series we're starting with the heybike Ranger. So heybike has donated this bike so I can do a series of videos on repairs and maintenance on this particular bike. So we're gonna start with the front of the bike and work to the back. The very first video we're gonna do is how to fix a flat tire on your front wheel. So we'll get started with that, and then the next video will be a front brake adjustment and how to do that, and then we'll start working to the back of the bike. This is probably a series of 7 to 12 videos, so stay tuned. Let's get started. All right guys, so on the heybike Ranger, on our axle, our through axle, all we have are 14mm bolts. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use the 14mm closed-in socket to take this off. Because it is a through bolt, we probably need 2 of these. So I have mine on a stand. So what's going to happen when I loosen this enough, the wheel's going to drop out. So I don't want that to happen. So as soon as I start getting it loose, I will hold the wheel. Now I'll pull the wheel out. If you're on the, if you're out and about and you have a flat tire and you have the means to change your, or to fix your flat, you can turn this upside down. Make sure you protect your display and things up on your handlebars, your mirrors. Just make sure you protect that. And then we will, you can do it that way. Just turn your bike upside down. So this should just about be ready to come out. That hanger's out, this hanger's out. There we go. So now that we've dropped the wheel out, let's take it over to the bench where we can assess how flat it is and maybe find the hole. Maybe find where the leak is. All right guys, so now what we have is we have our tire probably for you sitting in the grass or sitting on a curb, somewhere where you can get some kind of angle and still protect your rotor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let the air out of the tire to simulate a flat. So just kind of break it loose from the bead. It's pretty well loose from the bead. And then you should have your levers. I have 4 levers. I've had these a while. So what you want to do is reach in and get it up and flip it over. There we go. Then just keep sliding it around until you get most of it out. Like now it's pretty set. It's not going to go anywhere. And then just drag your lever around it till it comes out. And we got it good enough we can pull the rest by hand. Now these Chaoyang tires fit very tight. It's not like some of the others or on a rim that's a lot looser where there's a little more flex in it. This rim has no flex, so it's a little tougher. But once you get it off halfway, okay, now you'll reach in and pull your inner tube out. Okay? Okay, so now we have the full inner tube out. Now what you're going to do in the field, you're going to fill this up. You're going to make the inner tube a little harder than it is. Right now it's pretty soft. And then you're going to run your cheek around it or your forehead where you got a little bit of glistening because you've been working so hard to get this out. So once you find it, you will come and get your patch. and you will get your scraper for your patch, right? So once you get your scraper, you find where your hole was, and you will just trying to scratch where that patch is going to go. Good enough. You just want to take the gloss off the inner tube and kind of buff it up a little bit. Then you're going to take your patch. I use glueless patches. You're going to peel this off, which is paper. Once you peel the paper off, you have a self-stick patch. Then you're going to take that patch and you're going to put it on your hole, and you're going to press it on pretty hard. If you don't have something to press it on with, just use your fingers and press all around it real hard. You can use the curb if you have a curb. Anything that will allow you to put some pressure on that patch. Then once you get the patch on, just rub it a little bit. Give it a little knead. Give it a little knead. Okay? Make sure it's warm. If you're doing this on a cold day, God bless you. But try to warm that patch up to get that glue a little bit more malleable and soft and gluey rather than stiff. Okay, now we've got the patch on. Okay, now from there, I'm going to let a lot of this air out of the tube, and I would suggest, even if you're on the road, let the air out of the tube. And don't get anxious, don't fret about it. You will get it fixed eventually. Take your time, relax. If you need a break, take a break. And in the summer, you will need a break. In the winter, maybe not. We got a bulk of the air out of the tire. This is probably what or out of the inner tube. This is probably what your inner tube is going to look like on the road. So what you want to do is line your valve up with the valve hole right here. Keep your valve cover handy. If you don't have a cover on your valve, get one. Very important, and you'll see why. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to lift the tire up, and we're mostly going to place it in the inner tube. We're mostly going to place it inside the tire. And try not to twist it, curl it, wrap it, tie it in a knot. Don't do any of that. Keep it flat. Okay, now you see I've got my valve matched up with the valve stem cutout. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up. I'm going to put this valve stem right where it goes. You should be close. I think I'm a little to the right. There I am. There's my valve stem. Now I'm going to push this in. At this point, put your valve cover on. Do you see the importance? The valve cover is important because it will stop the tube stem from coming out that hole when you are trying to get it in, and you're almost done, and all of a sudden that valve stem's inside the tire still, and now you've got to redo the whole thing. That is a pain. Okay, so now, tube's back in the tire, valve stem's in the hole, valve stem cover's on. Make sure you get covers, guys. And now we just have to get this edge back on. So most of it shouldn't be too hard. It should be just like that, most of it. Okay, now I'm down to my last eighth of the tire. Now I'm going to need this again. So I'm going to put this in, I'm going to drive this over. Be careful not to pinch your tube. There it is. And I think that's enough. I don't think I need it for this. There we go. So now the tube is back in the tire. All we have to do is inflate it. So these Chow Yang tires, maximum pressure is 20 psi. So what you want to do is you want to get your gauge set however yours may be. My gauge is set to 20 psi. It only sets it on like bicycle mode. This has a bunch of different modes, but what you want to do now is take your valve cover off And now hit go. Okay, we're at pressure. I'm gonna peel this off. I'm gonna put my valve stem back on, my valve stem cover back on. Now, if you're in the field and you touched your rotor, try to clean it with something. If you don't have anything, you're probably gonna get a squeak. So now, inspect it, make sure it's holding air, listen to it, see if you hear any air coming out. There's air coming out, you gotta do it again. In my case, there's no air coming out. So now we just have to mount it back to the bike. Okay guys, because I pressed my luck with the rotor, and this is exercise rather than being out in the field, I'm just gonna put on gloves, just so I can protect that rotor from the oils on my hands. Now, if you're riding with gloves or you have a pair in your backpack or whatever, put them on when you deal with this. Maybe not when you're taking the inner tube out, but otherwise, you're gonna save yourself a little bit of grief. I do remember this about this bike. Take off your nut and your washers, because this tire is much easier to get on with those off. So we will take this, we will slide it up in, and we will look at the brake caliper. We will make sure the rotor slides up into the caliper as this goes on. And there it is, it's up in the caliper. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tighten this up, I'm gonna get everything on it. And for you, it'll be easier because you'll be doing this upside down on the ground. Hopefully. Now you see that pulling out? That's because I'm trying to even the axle out on both sides. You can hear I have a little bit of rubbing going on, and I didn't have that before. Rub left, but we'll take care of that in the next episode. All right, guys, thanks for joining me again on this episode. I hope this helps you with your front tire fix. We will do the same on the back once we get to the back tire. Once we get to the tire portion and how to fix the flat, I won't go over that again because you can refer back to video 1 in the series. But we will take it off and we will explain all that on how to do all that, just so you have the knowledge of doing it. But right now, front tire's fixed and we're on our way again. Again, 20 PSI on these. I seen a video where people were saying 30 PSI. I've never seen a 20 inch, and I could be wrong. I haven't seen a 20 inch fat tire, 20 by 4 inch that was greater than 20, but I could be wrong. All the ones I've seen are 20 pounds. Some people are saying they put 25, 30, you know, each to their own, but this Chow Yang Hippo Skin 3 says 20 max. So that's where we're at. And I like riding with mine a little bit on the heavier side, the more pressure side, because that's just the feel I like. If you don't like that feel, by all means, you know, put in 15 pounds or whatever. Or if you're on sand and very soft soil, you know, you go down to 12 or so, and you'd be very happy riding like that. All right, guys, we'll see you on the second edition where we fix this brake rub.